Twitters. Get our bot in here and send out Discords. All right. Hello, everyone. This is Chris Ingerson, and it is. Oh, that's going to be interesting. I think it walked on screen right as I hit pause, or as I hit the space bar. Um, it is. Why can't I think of the day? It's June 16th. I kept wanting to say May. I'm like, it's not May anymore, man. And this is the June 16th TextQuest Devstream. Wow, June is just like flying right by. Um, anyway, so today it's a weekend stream. We're going to be taking some time off of the main game, and we're going to be switching back on to the custom content creation stuff. So one of the things that I would like to hash out is the custom game logic screen. So currently, if you start to create a custom adventure, you can create variables that can be flagged or that can be set. You can create objects that can be interacted with. You can create rooms to interact with those objects in. You can lay out all the rooms in a general map to make things navigable. And for the most part, that's a pretty good base for creating a custom adventure. But we really want to expand that to allow for some amount of custom logic. That way you can do stuff like examining this book will open a door and not have the two actions be directly correlated in data. Well, what's the best way to phrase that? Um, Essentially, you can set it up. You can set up things like event listeners so that doing a specific thing to a specific object will cause an effect of some kind. Or when you pick up an item, you can say add +1 to the score. Or when you drop that item, add -1 to the score. Basically, a bunch of bits of logic that players can set up to make the game a little bit more interesting and a little bit more unique, allowing people to put their own spins on things. So currently, you can establish however many arbitrary amounts of bool or of variables you want, whether they be strings, floats, integers, or bools. That's all fine. You can adjust various settings, like what values get displayed when certain actions are performed, what gets shown at the end game. And one of the things that actually does get added, or one of the things that you can add for the end game, is this custom tab. If we select that, there's not really anything we can do with this, but this is one of those bits of custom scripting that I would like to open up, where players can basically string a couple of commands together inside of this. I'll probably have like a button or something. Um, well, probably what it would be is like custom, and then there'll be parentheses that says something, and then there's like a little edit button somewhere, probably over here, that will basically allow you to go into like a logic graph and drag some nodes around. So let's go ahead and I'm going to hit delete there. Probably I should, oh man, am I going to have to like handle Control Z support? Oh boy, that's going to be a thing. Currently there is no Control Z, but since you can delete these in one click, I probably should change that. Oh man, it's going to get super complicated super fast. So if we go to our map real quick, one of the things that you can see is you see this logic tab. There's nothing in this currently. However, it would be nice, again, to have a similar interface, honestly, to our map here, where you can drag and drop. Well, not drag and drop, but you would be able to drag around nodes. You would probably be able to right-click and say create, and then some type of node. That interface is going to be fun. Oh, cool. Yeah, it's doing that now. Oh, that's awesome. I probably need to take another crack at my code for these arrows because it is not great. Um, oh, wow, really? So it's like all dependent on this one? Cool. Cool, cool, cool. So, yeah, that's kind of the state where we are right now. I would like to have some amount of functionality for that going forward. I'm not really sure. Go ahead and cancel here. I'm going to quit back out here. So I would like to be able to set up some logic strings. The first thing to do, and I think we're going to do this because it's the easiest. For example, if we just hit play, I think we can go. If we go like north, if we go north again, yeah. Um, so this is the end game screen. You get shown a custom in-game message. You can specify that in those options that we showed. And these are the various things that we set up to be output at the end. So what I would like to do is I would like to set up logic for the custom script real quick, or the custom in-game script to allow players to do pretty much, let's see, I guess we would need to have if checks and, oh boy, um, text prompts. Oof, that is rough. Okay. So let's go ahead and we're going to stop playing. I'm going to go to UI and we're going to go to, let's see, classic mode, play select. Let's go for create new game dialog dictionary game map. Huh. Do I not have? I bet they're somewhere. Duh. Any game unconscious demo combat start create select. Where's my map? Or room node, I guess. Well, no, that's not it. Map view, custom game map. I thought we had. There we are. View custom game map room. This is a CG room view. Makes sense. Why wasn't that listed? I didn't see it anywhere. Maybe this is out of date. Ah, here we are. It must be called something strange. View custom game map. What room? How interesting. I just don't see it there. Huh. Maybe I'm crazy. Custom game map options. There it is, map room. Okay. Probably I should reorganize this a bit to make things fit a little bit better. I'm just trying to get a sense of what or how I want to structure this. So currently, the way this works is we have submenus, and these submenus don't really do much. Let's look at real quick. We're going to go to map view options. We don't care about that. We want to go to settings, I believe. So settings, endgame. Yeah, here are our in-game output elements. I'm going to go ahead and turn on our UI here. I'm going to grab this. Hit F over here to kind of focus up on this. So this is what this element looks like. We're probably going to change this so, again, that our label shows something specific, which is So, let's see here. CG settings, output element. We have a label here, and right, here's where things get a little funky. Probably I'll say CG settings output, or custom output element. Let's go to create, C# script, CG underscore settings custom output element. All right. Just put this right here. If I could, except it won't let me. Of course you can't because you're still compiling. Well, at least I can open this up. Oh, we're going to be doing a lot of coding today, obviously. So, fair amount of coding. Should be expected. While that's opening up, I'm going to take a drink. All right. So, let's see here. I suppose we're going to have to change these to protected. Protected. Let's not do that right now, actually. Let's get the other script compiled first. And then I can open it up. Oh, boy. Boy, oh, boy. It is taking forever. while that's happening, let's review. So all we're really going to end up changing here is we're going to add a reference to a button on the custom one and change how some text is set. Pretty straightforward that way. Let's go ahead and let that compile. Open up the script. We're going to make this a rect mono behavior. We're going to say make this part of the text quest. I probably should isolate this even more using sleepyowl.common. Probably after the stream today, I'm going to come through here and I'm going to put these on like a namespace that's sleepyowl.textquest.customadventures or something like that, just to kind of isolate that so that it's not all mixed together. Because this was all started back before I knew what I was doing, of course, like many things. Close some scripts that we don't need anymore. I was doing some work on those things earlier. That one I actually did want to open, but oh well. Okay. So we're going to say this actually derives from CD settings output element. We're going to put that in there. We're going to come back to here. We're going to make these protected. We're going to come down to here. Protected, 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 protected. Make that protected. Public. Get return type. Say make this virtual. I'm like 90% sure that this is assigned at runtime. Really? That's interesting. All right. I guess that's just because I have different prefabs for them. So, yeah, that kind of makes sense. I didn't consolidate them. We'll leave that alone for now. Initialize. And that was already marked as virtual. We don't have something already referencing this, do we? Not really, but it's kind of good that I did that, I guess. Let's see, this dot index is equal to move up clicked, move down clicked, delete clicked. Okay. That is fair. All right. So we're going to go up to here. I'm going to say using Unity engine.ui because we need the button. This is going to be. I'm going to comment some of this real quick too, so I don't forget what this is. Elements shown in custom games settings. Hold on. We'll say represents a value that is shown to players at the end of a custom game. Okay. Let's go ahead and this. This represents a custom value that is shown to players, I guess. All right, so this is going to require a serialized field, tooltip, private, button. This is going to be the edit button is equal to null. Button to click to show the logic for this output. Custom logic for this output. And that, I think, is actually all we really need it to do for now. So we're going to say private void start, which will go below private void on edit clicked. Okay, we're just going to say edit button dot on click dot add listener on edit clicked. Okay, let's go ahead and allow that to load. Come back over to here, custom that up. That's going to compile and show everything again. And let's see. Bang. Of course, the buttons are not in a grid. I guess that makes sense because they wouldn't really be there or need to be for anything else. All right, let's go ahead and we're going to say a new game object. I'm going to make this be aligned to the right, like that. Pretty much they're going to have the exact same setup as this. So this is going to be a horizontal layout group. Horizontal layout group, child control size. We're going to do all that fun stuff. We'll do a padding, spacing of 5. Let's go ahead and set our width to be 150. We'll do our position -5 on there. Move you below there. Yeah, I know you're going to break. So we need a padding that looks like a 5. Well, not so much there. 5 from the top, 5 from the bottom. That makes sense. Okay. I'm actually going to go ahead and just do 5 from the right as well. And then we'll set this position to be 0. And that's pretty much all we need to do. We're going to set our width to be, I'm going to say 320. Then we're going to rename this buttons because I'm paranoid and I didn't actually check. Then we're going to rename this buttons. I need to talk more clearly. What a... Pretty sure that's terrible grammar. Except technically clearly is an adverb, not an adjective. Well, no, it would be a quantifier. Well, anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and lost my mouse there for a second there. We're going to duplicate this. We're going to set that. Of course, you're not going to help me there. We want this to be gray by default. I'm going to move this up front. We're going to call this the edit button. It is going to be green-ish when we hover over it. Let's grab this, move this down. I can't make you gray because that is indicative of it being inactive, so we're going to make you black instead. Let's rename this. Oops. So this label is going to change to edit. Okay. Let's go back up to here. So we're going to make this all set up correctly. Move up, move down, delete button, label, and then our edit button. All right, so we can get rid of this. And now I can hit apply, and that should be fine. Let's go to label. How do I want to do that, actually? That's a good question. Let's go ahead and select this real quick. This one is for score. Let's see what its tooltip is set up to do. Okay, yeah, I thought as much. So we're going to go ahead and set this tooltip rect to initially be disabled. That's what we want. We don't want to worry about any of this. The content will be replaced dynamically. The parent will be placed dynamically. Tooltip prefab is fine as is. Spawning, all this fun stuff is fine. Probably we want it to be kept similar, so pivot is going to be left in the X, 1 in the Y, so that should be like right about there. That makes sense. Anchors min, anchors max, makes sense. All right, that's pretty good. So let's go ahead and we're going to just hit apply here, which is going to cause some problems in here, I believe. In-game, output element prefabs, yeah, that's going to break. So we want to go ahead and hit save real quick. And then I'm going to drag this in. Okay, That's the custom one. You can add as many custom ones as you want. However, we now want it to open up a. Oh, this is going to be so much fun. So I'm going to make a custom game modal that will be. So it's going to be a modal, not an actual view, that will then allow you to drag a bunch of stuff around and hit cancel. Oh boy. Okay. Okay. This is gonna be fun. So I am going to need. Let's see. Where are my scripts here? Settings. Guess I'm gonna make this a modal folder. Modals, I suppose. Let's create C# script, and this is gonna be CG underscore endgame custom logic modal. Woof. I probably could shorten that to endgame logic modal, honestly, which I will probably do in a second. So this is essentially just going to be. Let's go ahead and make that text quest. We'll work with this for now. We're going to say using sleepyowl.common. We're going to derive from game modal. Oh dear. There are so many things that I need to do to fix this. Oh boy. Right. Alright. So first things first, how do we want to do this? So this is going to be a modal that basically shows up when you hit that edit button. And it is going to require a draggable area for custom logic, as well as some notes. Probably I shouldn't actually start with this game modal, although I will keep it here for now. Instead, I should probably work on a basically an interface for actually handling logic. So that's gonna be fun. Let me think about how I want to do this. We might end up doing the individual components of it today and not so much stitching everything together, which is fine. So yeah, it's gonna be fun. I'm also gonna rename this while we're here. So I'm just gonna call this endgame logic modal instead of endgame custom logic modal. Open that up real quick. You can do it. I know you have to unload and reload everything. Just get rid of that. And call that a day. Let that recompile. So, let's see here. We can't really do much here anymore. Probably what we're going to do for this is we're going to try to adopt the same style of interface that a lot of other node-based editors have, which is somewhat contextual. God, I'm trying to think about if I can streamline this or if I should streamline this for users or if I should just kind of have a walkthrough for this because I'm not sure how I'm going to teach players how to do this. It's not going to be super intuitive, admittedly. So when we're let's assume we have a grid and that grid is draggable like our map, our custom game map. If you right click, you should have a little menu pop up that says like create node, and then you can select what nodes you want. Oh man, this is going to suck. I'm basically trying to think of a way to handle this. So instead of making this a view, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this an individual component that can be set up pretty easily. So let's look at yeah, let's look at this. So scripts, we're gonna create folder logic. I'll try to compress this, make sure that I get a decent view of how everything's working here. So this is content. This is game logic. Here we go. So logic is its own thing. I know we had started on it before, but we didn't get very far in this. So I think I started trying to set things up to function a specific way. Well, I guess I was at least using scriptable objects, which is what I wanted. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off my UI here. I'm going to hit save, and I'm going to just jump over to a new scene so I can just have a fresh start with this. We're just going to make a quick canvas. Not going to worry about anything. We're going to go ahead and create our base UI for this. So we're going to say, how do we want to handle this? Man, that is code that I did at work, not here, so I don't have that here. Of course I don't. We're going to go ahead and create a new object. We're going to stretch this across. We're just going to call this something like view custom logic. Okay, and here is where things are going to get fun. So we're going to need to make some tests here. We're going to go ahead and say create folder. I'm just going to call this tests. Of course, it did have a lowercase t, which means that I'm going to rename that as test, and then I'm going to rename it again as tests. We're going to go ahead and create folder scripts. We're just going to go ahead and say create C# script. I'm just going to call this like custom logic test view. Or again, how about just logic test view? Okay, let's go ahead and open that. Oh, right. You never can do that until you let it compile. We're going to go ahead and open this up, I guess. We're going to make this part of the text quest namespace. We'll say logic test view will derive from using. Actually, I don't even need to make it an actual game view. I can just say using Unity engine.ui because we need some buttons. So this is just going to say these are test things, so I'm not going to care about formatting. Public button save button is equal to null, and then private void on save clicked. We're going to do something. Private void start save button dot on click dot add listener on save clicked. Okay, pretty straightforward there. But what I would like to have is I would like to have basically a script that is not specific to a view but can be used in any view that will handle spawning the grid, spawning the initial positioning for everything, and handling adding and removing new logic. And by having it not be specifically associated with a specific view, that will make it a little bit more flexible, and I can give it specific nodes that it can actually use. So we're going to say scripts, logic test view. Let's go ahead and say I'm going to add this over here. You're not going to do anything for now, and that's fine. We are going to go ahead and add a logic grid, I guess, or logic map, is I suppose what I would call that. Let's say create C# script. I'm going to call this CG underscore logic map. And this itself is not, again, it's not a game view. It's going to be a component that can go on anything. And it will have a certain amount of, let's see, we're going to make this our rect mono behavior. We're going to make this part of the text request namespace. We're going to say using engine.ui, using sleepyowl.common. Crap. Cool. Well, there's no point in that then. Click on Unity. Okay, cool. I'm just going to be mean about it. So we can get rid of this, I suppose. And then I can open up the logic map. Why did you come back up? I don't want you to do that. Oh, you. Okay, let's open up the logic map. So this is actually kind of the structure that I was thinking of taking again, which makes sense because this is the old structure. I would like to simplify it a little bit. So we're gonna go ahead and change this up in the sense that, so the logic map itself is not going to handle data, well, so basically what the logic map is going to do is it's going to take a blob of JSON. That JSON will contain all the information for the nodes and various things that it has associated in there. And then it will return a blob of JSON when you're done editing, which again will contain all the information on where the nodes are, what those nodes are, what their values are, et cetera, et cetera. So because of that, we don't actually need, well, so logic data, go to definition here. This is, I believe, just a serializable class. Okay. Behavior input IDs. This is not actually anything that I need. So we're going to jump back here. And I am going to, so logic data, behavior ID. I don't think I want that to be the case. So probably what I'm actually going to do here in logic map is it's going to have a list or an array of logic collections that it supports. And those collections will have references to all of the logic behaviors. And then those will basically determine what the map can do. So we're going to get rid of this, and I'm just going to say public logic collection collections is equal to new. Okay, so we don't need this, and I'm going to go ahead and say it's not a serializable component anymore. It's going to be a rect mono behavior, or rect, of course, I just got rid of it. So we're going to say using sleepyowl.common. This is going to be a rect mono behavior. And here's where things are going to get fun. Oh boy. So for this, I am going to want to create a JSON blob on start, I guess. So we're going to go ahead and say private JSON object, and this is going to be, well, no. Okay, so we're going to say JSON array, and this is going to be our logic nodes equal to new JSON array. Or how about logic? What would be the correct way of presenting that? Logic drop downs? No, logic labels, like logic node labels. That makes more sense. Labels. And when that happens, we're going to go ahead and say private void initialize. I know it's not on server initialized, but I'm going to come down here, make it initialized, not initialized. And all we're going to do there is we're going to say, so collections, I believe, have a reference to specifically, yes, some behaviors. And because of that, oh boy, we're going to need to come down here and we're going to say public. Why even bother with this? Okay, so we're going to do this. Capital B, and then we're going to say get return. I guess we'll do this. Return behaviors. Okay. Probably I should format that a little bit better just to be fun. Okay. And then we can iterate through this. So for initialize, we're basically going to do this. We're going to say JSON array. Well, no, we'll just do this. Logic node labels dot clear. And then we're going to say for int I equals 0, I is less than collections dot length I plus plus. And then we're going to say JSON array. We'll say collection array. JSON array, and then at the bottom here, I got the hiccups. We're going to say logic node labels dot add, and then we'll say collection array. Yeah, that's not actually what we want, is it? So just kind of thinking through this real quick. I guess it makes more sense for me to treat this like, well, yeah, okay. So this is going to be a JSON object then. JSON object, new JSON object. Okay, and this is going to be collections of I dot name. I know that's not a great way for doing that right now, but we'll deal with that in a second. Then we're going to do another for int j equals 0. J is less than collections of I dot behaviors dot length j plus plus, and then we're just going to say collection array dot add collections of I dot behaviors of j dot name, I guess. And that should essentially give me a JSON blob that is all of the nested ways to get to these things. Trying to think about how we want to handle this. Jeez. Man, making custom generated tools are always a huge pain if you want to give people options. Let's see here. So this generates the labels, and these are going to be the labels that are displayed in our dropdowns when we want to create a new node. And I think this will actually be enough for now for us to get a decent start there. Okay, so what we want to do now is we're going to say, I'm trying to think. So the logic map is the parent. We'll need a draggable to go there for the map itself. We'll need nodes. Sorry, I'm currently trying to think about how I want to handle this. So let's go ahead and start getting things ready for showing this dropdown, and then we'll handle adding nodes. So we're going to go ahead and say we have our custom logic here. Let's go ahead and create a new image. We're going to call this the root. It compiled right as I was typing, which means who knows what's going to happen. Okay, we're going to stretch this out all the way. We'll set that to black. We're going to add, trying to think through this. I'm going to create a new UI image. This is going to be stretched out. We're going to have it be 50, 150, 50, and 50. That's pretty good. This is going to be our logic panel. So this is where our logic map will come in. We're going to have, we don't have any collections currently, which makes sense. So we're going to have to create some of that. Let's come down to here. We're going to say create text quest collection, sorry, SOS text quest, and then custom game, string constant, constant, so we don't actually have any of that right now. Do I really not? I guess I don't. So let's go ahead and set that up. So we're going to say create asset menu, file name is equal to that, menu name is equal to that. Okay, so file name is going to be logic collection, and then the menu name is going to be so sleepy owl, and text quest, then custom game followed by logic underscore, and then logic collection, I suppose. Alright, so create. Oh, I did SOS, not sleepy owl. SOS. Okay, so create SOS text quest custom game, and then yeah, okay. So we'll let that compile, and then we should be able to assign it. Let's go ahead and continue our work over here real quick. I'm going to add a new image. I'm going to make this a draggable object as soon as Unity compiles and actually lets me do so. Okay, so we're going to call this, I believe I called it draggable. Yes. It's a little rough, but it should work. So, well, actually, go ahead and make this a grid. Custom game grid, I'm assuming is what this was. We're going to set this up to be tiled. We're going to give this a, I don't know, 2000 by 2000. So something pretty sizable. We're going to create a new image down here. I'm going to call this our mask. Okay, we're going to have the stretch will be 5 by 5 by 5 by 5. We're going to make this a mask. We're going to move our image to be below it. There we go. We're going to set our image color just as a matter of nicety to be like a dark gray, so it's not terrible to look at. Let's go ahead and we're just going to create a new area above the logic panel. Stretch it from the top. One. I'm going to be from the left 50, position Y, negative 50, position from the right, that. We're going to set our height to be 75. That's all fine. It's going to go ahead and call this title. Let's create a UI button. We're just going to have this be stretched all the way to the right. That's all good. View, UI, pro text. Have that stretch out all the way. So 5, 5, 5, 5. We'll have this be our 8-bit font. I'm going to call this save. Let's go ahead and just make this darker, I guess, for now. We'll have this be none with a slight green to you. We're going to grab this, make this go all the way up to green, make this go all the way down to dark green. That's all good. Probably should make this a little bit darker so it's not as terrible. Let's rename this label because I have standards. And we're going to make this darker, something like that. Okay, so there's our save button. Let's go ahead and rename that. So for this, we now need to set up our actual, we're going to call this grid. Background, so our logic panel is going to go there. We're going to go ahead and create SOS, text quest, custom game, logic collection. So I'm going to call this basic. I come back to logic panel. I'm going to grab this, put it there. So this doesn't really do anything right now, which makes sense. So I need to think about how I want to do this. So I need to have an event that gets fired initially, which will just be a actually, I guess this would basically be an evaluate command. So I'm going to rename this from basic because the first one we're going to test this with is our end game screen. I'm going to call this like end game. Okay, and then we're going to do some logic behavior to get our bools, and then we'll have to say if. Oh boy. So we're going to create folder. What do we call those? Evaluation, I guess. So for this, oh boy, I'm trying to think through all of the interfaces for this. So we're going to want to have an if statement. I want it to return a string. Boy. Sorry, I'm kind of hemming and hawing while I think through how I want this to look. I suppose for now we're not going to worry about the evaluation parts. We're going to focus on just getting things to spawn. Okay, so let's go ahead and collapse all that. And now we get to the fun part. So if I hit play, I should. Oh right, I don't need to save. Let's just hope it doesn't crash. So I hit play. I should be able to drag this around. Like that's all working fine. Cool. So the next things we want to do is right-clicking and hitting space to do something specific. So for that, we're going to need to have, we're going to create a new script over here. I'm going to call it CG logic behavior list. And this is kind of like a little weird floating component that will basically show up when you right click or hit space. It'll show up at the position of your mouse. And it's basically just going to show a list of the nodes that you can create. They will be grouped by their collection, so you'll be able to, they'll be nested. That way you don't just have this like massive list that shows up. So we're going to go ahead and just open that up. Okay, this is going to be in the text quest namespace. It is a rect mono behavior. We're going to say using sleepyowl.common. We're going to say using Unity engine.ui. Probably I don't actually need to worry about. Let me think. Right. So the list itself, we're going to take so we're going to say public void initialize. That's going to take a JSON object, JSON. Okay, and then we're basically just going to loop through here, and we're going to do a couple of things. So, the way I'm envisioning this will work is similar to how Unity's and pretty much every node editor's uh, context menu is, which is you'll right click, you'll see a list of initial items you can click on. It might be good for me to open up Substance, except I'm pretty sure it's expired right now and it's going to have to require me to sign in and all that fun stuff. So you would right click, you'd see a list of available options, you'd click on those options, and then that would bring you to the sub menu with all the actual nodes in it. Um, However, we also need to allow for searching. Oh boy. Um, oh boy. Well, let's look. Well, let's not worry about searching for now. Um, but we're going to want to basically initialize our known values here. So we're going to need two layers. One layer for the collections, so you can click on those to get to their specific behaviors, and then a second layer for those behaviors. If we do end up adding searches, that's going to get super wonky, but we'll deal with that in a bit. So, okay, with this, we're going to go ahead and say we don't need to initialize the JSON, I don't think, but we will need to do, well, no, we're going to need the JSON blob. So we're going to say private JSON object current JSON is equal to new, or is equal to new JSON object. And we're going to go ahead and add a public void close or hide, or I guess show. Then public void hide, which we'll deal with in a second. So here's the main difficulty. When we initialize, I need to try to think of how I want to do this. Sorry, I'm thinking everything through, which is never a good thing on air. We essentially want the initial arrays to be buttons, and then those will slide to the left to reveal the final ones, I think. So we're going to do this. We're going to need private void show, not show, well, no, yeah, show collections. And we're just going to say current JSON is equal to JSON, and then show collections, I guess, although probably it's going to end up, whatever. So for show collections, we're going to need a couple of things. We're going to need to come up to here. We're going to need serialized field, tooltip. This is going to be the rect transform to spawn buttons at, or under. So we're going to go ahead and call this private rect transform. Button grid is equal to null. I don't really want to do that, but we probably will need to. So I'm going to need to make a custom button, so we'll call it like CG Logic behavior list. Oh, you know what? Actually, I can just call that CG Logic list and CG Logic list button. That will make more sense. So let's go ahead and get rid of you, which I'm pretty sure I don't have to rename, but we can just do that. I'm going to call that CG Logic list. We have our grid. We're going to need a list of prefab, or we're going to need a prefab for the buttons. And for now, I'm going to have to jump over to that. Logic list. Yep, you're going to complain, I know. Let's open you back up. This is going to be really interesting. So I'm going to let that compile, and then I'm going to right-click. And then you keep going because you want to spite me. I just know I could have done it. I just know that if I had, it would have compiled and been like, ha ha ha, I got you. Oh, I might be stuck in an infinite loop. Tempting fate here. There it is. There it is. As soon as I create a script, of course. Okay, so CG logic list button. That looks correct. All right. Let's go ahead and open that up. Give it a second. All right. This is going to derive from, or be in the namespace for TextQuest. It is going to derive from button, which I know you're not going to do anything right now, so we're going to say using UnityEngine.ui, using sleepyowl.common. How did you get to lowercase? I swear I capitalized you. Then we're going to go ahead and say serialize field, tooltip. We're going to call this private. Nothing's going to happen yet because I need to come up here and say using TM Pro. We're going to come back down here. We're going to say text mesh pro UGUI. We're just going to call this label is equal to null. We're going to say label for the button. And then I'm going to go ahead and say, I guess that's really all I need. So we'll just say public string text get return label text and set label text is equal to value. Okay, so we don't need you. We can come back over here, and now we can say serialize field tooltip private CG underscore logic list button prefab. I'm actually going to need two of these, so I'm going to need to say we'll want one for collection button prefab, I guess, is equal to null. Go ahead and copy that, and then we're going to rename this behavior button prefab. Freaking Europeans. So we're going to say prefab used for collection, behavior collection buttons. Behavior collection buttons. And then prefab used for behavior buttons. Okay. So for this, we're basically going to say, oh man, don't know why I said it like that. Trying to think through how we want to handle this. Oh man, this gets so awkward. Oh boy. We're gonna need JSON representation. Oh man, we're gonna be like generating. It's gonna be pure JSON on the fly, isn't it? For this, it's gonna have to be. Oh, that's gonna make things so difficult for me. All right. Okay. All right. So we need to show all of the collections first. That's what we're going to start off with. First things we need to do are we need to spawn all of those buttons along our grid and assign their labels to be whatever the current collection is. So let's see. I suppose the easiest thing to do would be this is going to be functional, but it's probably not going to be what we end up doing long term. So we're just going to say for each string label in JSON.keys. And then we're going to say, before we do anything else, let's go ahead and just say private void clear buttons. And I think we can have one single place for buttons, so we're going to say private list. Okay. Using system.collections.generic. We're going to say a list of CG logic list buttons. So we're going to call this buttons is equal to new that. Okay. So for clear buttons, we're just going to go ahead and say for into I equals 0, I is less than buttons dot length, dot count, I plus plus, buttons of I dot on click dot remove all listeners, and then Unity engine, not Unity engine, pool manager dot recycle buttons of I dot game object. And then we're going to say down here buttons dot clear. Okay, so we're going to call clear buttons before we show all of our collections, and then we're going to do this. We're going to say CG underscore logic list button. Button is equal to pool manager dot request. Then we're going to say I guess that's collection button prefab, and that's going to get parented to button grid. Grid will be good there, and then we're just going to say button dot text is equal to label, and then buttons dot add button. And here's where things get a little messy. We're going to say buttons. I'm sorry, not button. Button dot on click dot add listener, and then we're going to say delegate. It's not going to do anything for now. But down here at the bottom, we're going to say private void on collection button clicked string collection name, or perhaps collection ID might be better. Collection ID. Then we're going to say on collection button clicked, and then we'll pass in label. Okay, and then we're just going to say down here we're going to say private void show behaviors string collection ID. I guess actually we'll call this show collection behaviors. And this is going to have pretty much the same logic, but it's going to be a little different. So I just told you two separate things in the exact same sentence. So we do want to iterate through, well, yes, this is where things get interesting. Actually, this isn't too bad of a thing. We are essentially going to return, so we need an event up here. Nope. Instead of an event, we're going to do callbacks because this is makes more sense that way. Events get messy. Callbacks are a little bit more contained. So we're going to go ahead and say system.action, and that's going to take a string for now and a string as well. Callback is equal to null. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and copy that. We're going to say this selection callback is equal to null. And we're going to say selection callback is equal to callback. Okay, and all we need to do there is say, so on show collection behaviors, We're going to do one of those fun things. Let's go ahead and say private string current collection is equal to nothing, I guess. So on show collection behaviors, we're going to say current collection is equal to this. I'm actually going to need to have a separate button down here, private void on back clicked. Okay, and I guess on cancel clicked, private void on cancel clicked. This will just hide it. Ooh. Okay, so we get, it's a little awkward here, which makes sense. I don't, I'm actually not going to have that be a thing. I'm not going to have show or hide. Oh man, that could get really complicated. That could get really complicated. Okay, so in addition to this, I'm also going to need to use using Unity engine.event systems, I believe is what we want. So I pointer click handle, yeah. So this is going to be I pointer exit handler is what we care about. So if you drift outside of this logic list, it should probably fade out. So okay, so that just added this on pointer exit. We can get rid of this. Let's go ahead and come back up here. We're going to say serialize field tooltip, blah blah blah, and then we're going to say private float fade delay is equal to 0f. I will actually make that 3f. Delay before the logic list fades away. I don't know if I want to do that actually. You know what? Maybe I shouldn't do that. It's going to get really awkward and complicated though. Okay. No, we're going to get rid of that for now. I'm not going to worry about trying to fade out and be elegant for now. Okay, so on cancel clicked, we have some events that we need to fire here. I guess I'll call this selection callback, and then I'm going to say this, that selection callback is equal to that, which probably won't make null at all. And then I'm going to say system.action. It's not going to do anything. And this will be cancel callback. So system.action cancel callback is equal to null. And this dot cancel callback is equal to cancel callback. Okay. Then back here on cancel clicked, we're just going to say if cancel callback. Okay, stop that. If cancel callback. What is going on? Of course, I spelled it cancel callback. Does not equal null. Then cancel callback dot invoke. Let's rename that to cancel. Which means I gotta rename this. Oh, except I totally spelled it right there the first time, apparently. I just spelled that one wrong. Okay. Then we are going to do a couple of things. We're going to do this. Well, actually, let's just go ahead and leave that as is. And then we're going to say cancel callback is equal to null. And then selection callback is equal to null as well. On back clicked, we are just going to say show collection behaviors. That will, oh, I'm sorry, not show collection behaviors. We'll say show collections. Should handle that. And collection button clicked. We're going to say current collection is equal to collection ID. And then we're going to go ahead and say show collection behaviors collection ID. Okay. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. So let's go ahead and move this up into there. So we're going to set that to be the case. And then we're going to basically do the same thing. So we need to actually loop through that. We're going to trying to think about how I want to handle this. So let's go back up here to the logic map. We're adding the behavior's name, so we're just doing it by string, which I suppose is fine for now. So the way this is going to work is we're just going to say for int I equals 0, I is less than current JSON of collection ID dot crap count is going to be what it ends up being, except I have to do this as JSON array dot count I plus plus. Actually, we'll probably simplify this a little bit. So I'm going to grab this and I'm going to say JSON array collection array is equal to that. And then we're just going to say current array or collection array. We can get rid of these wrapping braces. Okay. And from here, we're just going to go ahead and say first things first, clear buttons. And then I'm going to say pretty much this. We'll just have some slight variations though. This is going to be, instead of collection button prefab, this is going to be a behavior button prefab. This is going to be collection array. Okay, collection array of I. That should just be the string. It should automatically convert it. It should be fine. So for this, we're going to need to change this a little bit. We're going to come down here and say private void on behavior clicked string behavior name or behavior ID. For now, we'll keep it as ID. I'm kind of getting the feeling that I'm going to end up changing these values to be like a GUID or something. But we'll keep it as just the string name for now, because it's possible I end up changing those names at some point, and I would like my script to not break. So making it a GUID would make more sense. So on behavior clicked, we're going to want to say if selection callback does not equal null, then selection callback dot invoke current collection. Okay, and then we're just going to go ahead and say selection callback is equal to null. Current, sorry, what was it? Not callback, cancel callback, that's what it was. Is equal to null. We'll go ahead and say current collection is equal to null, or is equal to nothing. And these will be on behavior clicked, and this will just be the button.text. Okay, pretty straightforward there. That should handle everything. And let's see, do I want to make that private? I suppose I can just do this real quick. Public void cleanup, which is just going to call clear buttons. Oh, and yeah, we can do this. And we can also set current JSON is equal to null. Or new JSON object, I guess. Which I guess I can actually just make that default now. Like that. Which I've never really done before. Oh, nope, apparently I can't. Darn. So I have to, can I do this then? All right, well, that works. Although that's actually worse because it's longer, so new JSON object it is. So the default keyword I've recently started using more at work as a way to handle structs, because you can't set a struct to be null. You have to set it to be its like default value, and then you typically want to have a custom function inside of the struct that tells you if it's valid or not. So blah 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 blah. That's all good. So this should do things that we want. So the difficult part now is getting the logic list to actually show up. So let's go to our logic map, and here's where things get a little awkward. I don't. Oh boy. Oh man, I'm trying to think about how I want to do this. Well, real quick before I go any farther, I am going to need a button specifically up here. So we're going to want to say serialize field, tooltip, private, button, back button is equal to null, button to click to return to the raw list of behavior collections. And all I'm going to do is go back down here to private void start. We're going to say back button dot on click dot add listener on back clicked. Go ahead and get rid of that. And then I'm going to say, because this is more efficient, actually, we're going to go ahead and say private game object back button go is equal to null. Then we're going to say back button go is equal to back button dot game object. Okay, then all we're going to do is when we show collections, we're going to set back button go dot set active false. And when we show behaviors, we're going to set that to be true. Okay, I'm also going to move that to the top because I feel like that's where it should go. All right, pretty straightforward there. Let's go ahead and come back over here to logic map. Now here's where it gets difficult. I need to basically wait for a right click or the space bar. And I can listen for that from the logic map, and I suppose it would work. So let's do a couple of things. Let's go ahead and say serialize field, tooltip, make this private. The collections of custom game logic behaviors that this map supports. Okay, so that handles all the logic. Next I'm going to need up here, serialize field, tooltip. We're going to need private, rect transform. We're going to call this like list parent is equal to null. We're going to say rect transform to parent the list of behaviors to. We're going to go ahead and have to say below that, we're going to say serialize field, tooltip, blah, 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 private cg underscore logic list list prefab is equal to null. We're going to call this prefab for the list prefab for the displayed list of behaviors. Custom logic behaviors, and I think that's pretty much all I need. So we're going to initialize, we're going to do all this fun stuff. Logic node label is going to be a JSON object, and then, yep, that's pretty much it. Okay, so from here, we're going to go ahead and do one more thing, which is serialize field tooltip private key code. It's an array. List keys is equal to new key code. There are only two that I'm planning, so I'm going to go ahead and declare them, which is key code dot write. So mouse 1, and also key code dot space. So these are going to be keys the user presses to summon the list of behaviors. Okay, and then down here we're going to have to say private void update, and then we're just going to say if, well, I guess it's going to be a for loop. So for int I equals 0, I is less than list keys dot length I plus plus. We're just going to say if input dot get key down list keys of I, and we'll immediately just call break, honestly, and then we're going to say show list and handle a bunch of stuff. So we're going to say private void show list. And for this, we are going to want to do a couple of things. One is we're going to need to say private CG list, logic list. So we'll call this logic list, I guess, is equal to null. And then we're going to say if logic list is equal to null, say logic list is equal to pool manager dot request list prefab list parent. Okay. So if that's the case, we're going to do that, and then we're going to say logic list dot cleanup, which actually is probably a bit redundant. Let's go ahead and say on initialize we call cleanup. So that lets me free that up to just say logic list dot initialize, and then I can say, what is it, logic node labels. Okay. And then I need callbacks, right? So for that we're going to say private void on behavior selected string collection string behavior, and then private void on behavior cancel. How about on cancel selected? On cancel selected. Okay, so this is going to call on behavior selected and then on cancel selected. Okay. And in both of these cases, we are just going to clean up the logic list. So we'll just call logic list dot clean up, and then we'll say pool manager dot recycle logic list dot game object. I'm going to do that in both of these cases. We're going to just debug dot log string format blah blah blah. It's going to be 0, 1. This is going to be collection and then behavior. And then we're just going to debug dot log cancel here. Okay, my goodness. Right, this is where things get a little iffy. I need to go to my tooltips that I made. So tooltip rect. I hope I made this an abstract function or a decoupled function. Let's see, spawn position mouse manager. Oh boy. Okay. Yep. Yep. Of course not. So I guess I get to do that again. That sucks. Okay. Let me think. So basically, we have to port this code over. Which for now, I suppose I can go ahead and do. Just going to be a little awkward. Okay, so we're going to get rid of this. And then essentially I'm just going to go ahead and so we're just going to go ahead and comment these particular parts out. Okay, and I'm going to change this to logic list dot rect transform dot position should be equal to that. That should all work. Okay, that should show it. So let's let that all compile and get the list started. So to start off, we're going to go ahead and create a new object. I'm going to call this logic list. Okay, we're going to set this, we're going to make it an image. We'll give it a width of, I don't know, 300? Not too much? We'll never know because it's compiling right now. What a shame. 300 might be a bit much. Let's actually shorten that to 200. Actually, not. 300 might not be enough. Let's give it a height of 200, and we'll do that. That looks good. We're going to call that logic list. Let's go ahead and add our logic list to that. We are going to go ahead and grab this. We are going to say, have this stretch all the way. We're going to make this an image again. We're going to make that black. We're going to give it 5 by 5 by 5 by 5. And then we're going to go ahead and call this our background. Let's go ahead and we're going to create a scroll rect, I guess. Might as well do this right the first time. So we're going to make this a scroll rect. We're going to get rid of the horizontal because we shouldn't ever need that. It is not going to be horizontal. We might as well make it clamped. We'll give it some inertia. Scroll sensitivity of 10. Might make that 15. We're going to come back up to here. Come back over to here. Step you up like that. All right. We're going to change this to stretch out and fill out that entire space. We are going to leave it as is for now, I guess. We're going to set up our content, and we get to do all this fun stuff. So we're going to go up to layout. We're going to make this a vertical layout group. We're going to add another component, layout. We're going to make this a content size fitter, which will fit the min size, I suppose, of those buttons. That makes sense, kind of. Let's go ahead and grab that. I'm going to create a UI button. We're going to give it a component. Oh, right. We're going to remove that. We're going to make it a list button, which is fun because it's going to complain. For now, I'm going to debug this, and we're just going to manually assign our Text Mesh Pro stuff right there. Let's go back to here. Set you to 0. Make you called label. We're just going to do 5, 5, 5, and 5. We are going to give this a none, and it's fine for highlighting. So let's add a layout, and then a layout element, a min height of 50, I'm going to say. That seems fine. We'll give this a label, and this label is going to be, let's change our button a little bit. So this is going to be a darker color, something like that, I'm going to say. We're going to give our highlighted color like a bluish tint, kind of like that, with the pressed color being kind of darker, like that. That seems pretty good so far. I really wish I could show it, though, without playing, but I guess I can't just play. We're going to have this be aligned to the left, and we are actually... that's fine, doesn't matter. I'm also going to go ahead and create a UI image. It is going to be anchored over to the right. I don't know if I have an arrow. I guess I have that, which is a little awkward. So probably actually what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create another label, which I will make this use our 8-bit font. That way I can just duplicate this, and we're just going to have this be the arrow, which should be, I believe, this. Just to be sure. Yep, that's right. Okay. So we're going to have this be anchored over to the right, and I'm very curious to see how this goes. We're going to set our width to be like 50. I'm going to try rotating this. I knew it. I knew you wouldn't let me have that. So we're going to do this the easy way. I'm just going to copy this component. Copy component. We're going to paste this in here. We're going to paste that component values. We're going to move you down here. We're going to just make you be a regular old stretch. And then we're going to rotate you 90 degrees. Oh, you're not going to like that yet. We got to set you back to 0.5. Now I can rotate you 90 degrees. There we go. So we're going to just call this like arrow. Call this arrow label. Okay. So we're going to call this behavior collection button. So we can probably real quick, I think I'm going to give myself a 10 spacing from the left, just to make it a little bit more legible. That makes sense. Let's go ahead and make that into a prefab. So we're going to grab that, put that there. And then I can rename that as just behavior button. And all I have to do for that is just to get rid of this arrow. It's pretty much the only difference between those two. Okay, then we can go ahead and we'll give ourselves like a 5 spacing, I don't know. So that handles the content scaling up, which probably is enough actually for now. So let's go ahead and we're going to go up to logic list. We have our button grid, which is our content. We don't have a back button, right? So I'm going to throw my behavior button up here. And I'm going to also go ahead and just say, to do this. Let's go ahead and duplicate this. I'm going to drag this up. This is going to be our back button. This is going to be remove this component. We're going to add component. We're going to make it a button. Let's move that up here. Yep, that's fine. Okay, and I think actually what I'm going to end up doing for this is we're going to say 0.2, none. The normal color is actually going to be transparent for the most part, and the highlighted color will be like a, I don't know, like a greenish kind of, somewhere around like there, with a darker color being like there for pressed. Disabled, that's fine. Oh man, I really need to add multi-graphic support to these things. That's going to be a fun bit of coding. And then in addition to this, I'm actually going to go ahead and create a new image here that we are going to stretch at the bottom. And we're going to have a height of like 5 on that with 25, not that much, 10. Yeah, it's better, 10 and 10. So this label is going to say back. That's awkward. So we're actually going to give this a, I don't know, like a distance of 50, like that. We're going to create a new object over here. It's going to be zeroed out. Give it a width of 50. It's all fine. Then I'm going to create a new label. Now I'm just going to duplicate this. We're going to do what we did before with the arrow. So I'm just going to have the stretch. The arrow is going to be up here. Let's have this be centered and centered. We'll have this rotate 90 degrees. Okay, something like that. That doesn't look too bad. Arrow label. Call this arrow. All right. So that's pretty straightforward. Let's go ahead and, so that would be like turned on and off as we see fit. That makes sense. Let's go ahead and turn it off by default. Logic list is going to have our back there. So we can get rid of you, and we're going to have this be our behavior button, and then our behavior collection button. Whew. Okay, so that is our logic list prefab. Let's go ahead and make that into an actual prefab. Okay, we're going to go ahead and turn that off. We're going to come back up here to our logic panel. And the list parent is where things get awkward. I suppose what I would do there is I would just have this game object stretch across. This is going to be our like list parent. No, actually, we want our list parent to be here under the mask, but above the background. Okay. So we have our list parent and our list prefab. There's our list keys. Okay. So in theory, I think this will do what we want. I'm going to say, because I've been doing a lot of effort into this scene, we're going to go ahead and say just like custom logic test. Okay. So play here. So in theory, I should be able to like right click and have it show up. So if I drag it around, that's fine. Okay, so did it show up is the question that I have there. Yes, it did. It is the parent way the frig off? No. Uh-oh. Let's see, was I doing anything weird here? Oh, actually, yes, I was. So I need to do this. Stop playing. Because this is not using my adjusted canvas right now, it's going to want to do that. So this should fix that problem. I hope. Oh, I probably should have also aligned my parent or my logic list to be pivoted from the top left. We'll see how awkward this is. Actually, now that I think about it, let's go to logic map. We're calling show list, but I have never initialized this actually. So, so on show list, I guess I'm going to go ahead and say if logic node labels dot count is equal to 0, and we'll say initialize. Okay. Let's see if this works. I have medium confidence in that. Maybe. We'll find out. Alright. Let's give this a shot. Should probably have just turned off maximize on play so that I could see everything. Okay, so it's like drifting further and further. All right, nice. Oh, we have a null reference. That's interesting. Where did you come from? Oh, wait, what? Oh, I bet. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, okay. 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 So I probably should. Fine. I guess that makes things a little bit easier on me anyway. So let's go ahead and go back up to here. We're going to delete that. And then I'm going to come down to here and I'm just going to say. Actually, no, before. Private game object back button geo get return back button geo question mark back button geo otherwise back button geo is equal to back button dot game object. All of that is terrible. We need to change that. This needs to be back button. There we go. And then I can change all of these to that. Okay. So let's let that go again. So it's a little distressing that it's off, but it is nice for it to show up when we right click or when we hit space. Well, I haven't tested the space. I'm going to do that next. And I probably should just real quick make this get bool logic be listed so that I can click on it to see what it does. I also did not have a cancel that I set up, did I? Which I should probably do real quick. I guess I want that at the bottom. Sure? Question mark. So we're gonna have after all of this, we're gonna give ourselves a spacing on the bottom of like 50, which probably means I need to really make this like 300 by 300, which is fine. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and create a new UI button, which is gonna be anchored to the bottom. 0, height of 50. We'll give it 5, 5, 5, and 40. Let's get rid of this text. Just create UI. Text pro text. We're just gonna have that be our actual 8-bit font. That will be called label. change this to be transparent to start. The highlighted color will be, honestly, like a gray is probably fine. Press color, dark gray is probably fine. Point 2, no automatic navigation. Label, this is going to be called cancel. I'm just going to call this the cancel button. Which we don't actually have a spot for, do we? Nope, and that's why I forgot it. Cool. So first things first, let's go ahead and set this up. So we're going to say create asset menu, file name is equal to that, menu name is equal to that. Then we're going to say menu name is SOS, text quest, custom game logic. Get bool, I guess. Oof. Probably I should change that up to be like behaviors. There we go. Then this is going to be get bool. Yeah, we'll just call it that. Okay, we can get rid of you. CG logic button, logic list. Here we go. This is what I want. Back button, and then a cancel button to close the list. I'm just going to call this cancel button. I'm going to come all the way down here and say cancel button dot on click dot add listener on cancel clicked. Should all work. Cool. So that should let me create a new logic behavior in a scriptable object that I can then assign to my in-game collection so I can see if it shows up in the list properly, which should allow me to select it, which should allow me to hide the list. I did set that up, right? Like where I would hide this. Yes, I do recycle it. Good. So once that compiles, hopefully we can get everything functional. So let's go ahead and assign our cancel button there. We're going to go ahead and just apply those changes. Get rid of this. Logic panel hasn't had anything happen to it. Let's come back down here. We're going to say create SOS, text quest, custom game, logic, behaviors, get bool. I know it's not going to do anything right now. We just want to add it to the list to see if it'll show up properly. All right, so now let's try all of that. All right. Okay, so heading space does work. If we hit cancel, we got the cancel log. That's good. Uh-oh. 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 So clicking did not seem to do anything. Oh, right. That's what the problem was. I never cleared it, so I need to do this. Logic list is equal to null. Yeah, so after it goes away that first time, it was forever away, but I was referencing it, which meant that I never bothered to recycle it again, or request it again. So that was me being silly. So this is a pretty good step so far, or a couple of good steps to getting the interface working. I still don't have a totally functional idea of how I want it to flow. I have an idea visually of how I want that to work, but I don't have a good idea structurally, back-end wise, how I want that to work. I do know that at the end of the day, it's going to be a massive JSON blob for every bit of custom logic. Well, I say massive, but probably none of them are going to be super large. Well, some of them could be, but most of them will probably be pretty small. Let's hit cancel there. All right. So in-game, nice, get bool, in-game get bool, right there. In-game back. Cool. So yeah, that works. So we now have our menu for popping these things up, but we don't have them spawning in yet, obviously. We're probably going to call it there, or call it a day there. the next couple of things that I need to do is I need to figure out how I want to actually spawn these things. I'm probably gonna assign them all individual GUIDs that will then be part of this like massive JSON blob. And then what gets returned isn't the name of the collection and the name of the behavior. It's just going to be the GUID for the behavior probably. That way I can just like go through a massive list of them and be like, which one is it? And it's you. Okay. So that's probably going to be the next step that I take. But for now, we're going to go ahead and call it a day there because I also have some namespace changes that I need to do, which I mentioned at the beginning, or I guess close to the beginning. Anyway, announcements. So the event that was scheduled for next Thursday, or I guess this Thursday now, has been canceled. So I should be streaming at my usual time on Thursday, as a heads up. And that is pretty much it off the top of my head. So, as always, I want to thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you all next time.